Hello soulmates, you're welcome back to my channel. On today's video, we're making this pajama set. I made use of Vida satin as the biads. So guys, let's get into the video. So guys, we'll be cutting the back pattern first. The first thing I did is to get the length of this shirt. So the length I'm working with is 27 plus 1 inch for folding allowance. We are using 1 inch because this is a 9th swell, so you just have to fold it tiny. After cutting on the paper, we'll now transfer this to the fabric. You know the fabric is shaky. So now the next we have to do is to get the length. Like I said, the length is 27, 1 inch for folding allowance. This is my shoulder to waist, which is 19 inches, and my shoulder to bust point, which is 12 inches. I did 3 inches for the neck width, and I came down by 1 inch for the neck depth. After doing that, now I've shaping my back neckline. My shoulder is 16 divided by 2 will give me 8. So I'll mark my 8 inches here, and I'll come down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope. 1 inch. I'll connect this 1 inch mark to the width of the neckline. So now the next we have to do is to get the chest line. To get your chest line, also known as the bust line, you divide your bust by 6 plus 1.5. So my bust by 6 plus 1.5 give me 8.79. So now mark this 8.79 here, like this, 8.79. So now this is my chest line. It's always good to label your pattern. We'll mark chest line here, chest line, bust points, the waist, and this is the hem of the shirt. The next we have to do is to drop the shoulder measurement, which is 8 inches. I'll mark 8 here, and I'll come down here and mark 8 inches. So now connect this line together. So now for this, I will just divide my shoulder by 2. Mark. I'll come in by ½ inches. This ½ inches I came in by, I will just mark a slant line to that ½ inches mark here. And now use my French off to create my arm hole. Next we have to do is to drop the bust measurement on the chest line. The bust I'm working with is 44. 44 divided by 4 will give me 11. So I'll drop my 11 inches here, like this, and add 1 inch for ease, 1 inch for sewing allowance. Then on the waist, we'll divide the waist by 4. The waist I'm working with is 40. 40 divided by 4 give me 10 inches. So I'll drop my 10 inches here. 1 inch for seam allowance, 1 inch for seam allowance, 1 for ease. So the hem of the shirt, I'll divide my hip by 4. The hip I'm working with is 45. 45 divided by 4 will give me 11.25. So I'll drop my 11.25 here, and 1 inch for ease, 1 inch for sewing allowance. So now connect the lines together. First line to the waist, like this, and to the hip. I'm done with this. I'll cut this out. So guys, this is my front pattern. I left 6 inches for the collar because we'll be cutting the collar together with the shirt. This is 6 inches for my collar allowance, and I left 1 inch for button hole. So now the next we have to do is to get the width of the neck. To get your width of the neck, I'll be using 3 for the width of the neck and 3 inches for the depth of the neck line. So this is it. I'll use my hoe to get this line together like this. This is the neckline. Then the next we have to do is to get the shoulder. The shoulder I'm working with is 16. 16 divided by 2. You divide your shoulder by 2. 16 divided by 2 give me 8 inches. So now in this 8 inches, I'll drop it here and come down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope. This is it. Now connect this to the width of the neckline. Now the next we have to do is to get the chest line. To get your chest line, you divide your bust by 6 plus 1.5. My bust by 6 to give me 8.79. So if I came down from this 1 inches, that's where I drop my chest line. You can see it's from this 1 inches, 8.79. I'll mark it here, down here, and check what I have from this line, from this startup line here. I have 9.79. Then I'll bring that 9.79 here also to mark this down. So now connect this line together. After getting the chest line, the next you have to do is to drop your shoulder on the chest line. We have 8 inches here. I'll drop it here like this, 8 inches. And you can see I drop it from this line, not from the buttonhole line, from this line I left here. So this is buttonhole. Please always label your pattern. This is the chest line, bust points, waist. So now connect this line together. Okay, now divide this by 2. Because for the armhole shape for the back we use half inches, while for the front we'll be using 0.75. Now connect this like this. Use my French cord. Now drop the bust measurement on the chest line. The bust I'm working with is 44. 44 divided by 2 will give me 11 inches. Because of the width of my paper, I'll be adding my sewing allowance and the allowance for the ease on the fabric. So now drop the waist. The waist I'm working with is 40. 40 divided by 4 give me 10 inches. Then on the hip line, I'll be dropping the hip line. The hip I'm working with is 45. 45 divided by 4 will give me 11.75. So I'll drop this here also. Now connect these lines together. Okay, so we are done. The next we have to do now is to work on the collar. So in your collar, you bring back in your back pattern and check what you have on the neckline of your back. Here we have 3.5. So now we'll keep this aside and drop and continue with the front of this shirt, the 9th wear. Now you look for your break point. I want this, my break point, to stop at my chest line. So I will just mark this like this. This is the chest line. So this is my break point. You can see stopping at the chest line. Now that 3.5 we have at the back, we drop it here from this startup line, 3.5. So now continue this. This is 3.5. So now this is the neck. For we just come in by half inches like this, because this line we have to get that curve, a bit of curve. You can see the way it is. You connect it back like this. This is it, 3.5. Check how you want your collar to be, the width of your collar. Determine on how you want the width of your collar. I want the width of my collar should be 3.5. So I'll mark 3.5 here. Now we'll connect this. So now this is the width of the collar, 3.5. Then the next we have to do is to come here and check 3 inches here and connect the lines together. Straight line like this. You can see this is the neckline. So I will just come down half inches because I want this lapel to fall a bit. I'll come down by half inches here and connect the line like this back to the neck width. Okay, you can see how it is. Now next we have to do is to come out by 1 point, let's do 1.5 inches here. Come out by 1.5 inches and mark a slant line. This is how it will look, to not be too curvy and straight. This is the collar. Now the next we have to do is to get the lapel. Now you connect this line like this. It will not be four corner, it will be curved. This is nightwear. Now I'll just use my hand to curve this. Okay, so this will not be as sharp as this. No, this lapel collar will not be sharp. We'll make it a bit curved, not sharp. You can see the way I curve my hand in. First thing we have to do is to cut out the collar. So you can see how it is. It's not four corner anymore, it is curved. So now I'll cut the back pattern also and cut on my fabric, and I will tell you what next to do. I'm done with the cutting of the fabric on the papers. We're sewing the pajama set and we have to put this bias strip. I don't have a bias strip, so I'm making use of bridal satin. Cutting the bias strip, I cut the bias strip by 1.5 inches. After folding, it will be giving me 0.75, let's just say 1 inches. So now I cut 4 of these, 2 for the sleeve and 2 for the front where the lapel will be. I'll keep this aside. Now let's talk on the collar. This is my collar. You can see how it is. I cut 2 pieces of this collar, 2 pieces. This is the facing we'll be working with. The width of the facing is by 5 inches, but when you're getting to the hem of the shirt, you just make the down, you not make the hem of the shirt of the facing the same thing with the up, because this is the lapel, you know, it has to fall this way. That's why this upside is wider than the hem of the facing. You can see the hem of the facing is 3.5. You can see this is the shirt. We cut 2 of this, and don't forget to add your seam allowance on your fabric. You know, on the front pattern we didn't add our seam allowance, so that's why I add 2 inches for the seam allowance for the front. While for the back also, don't forget to add your seam allowance. You know, this on the back pattern we already add our seam allowance on it, which is 2 inches. That's why I didn't add for the back. I'll keep the back pattern aside. Now let's talk on our sleeve. I have a link below on how to draft a basic sleeve. So this is my sleeve. You can see how it looks. I'll be cutting out the interface I'll be using for this, for the collar and for the facing. I'll cut it out and use my pressing iron to press this, then we'll tell you what next to do. So now we'll be sewing this pajama set, but the first thing we have to do is to remove the paper from the fabric. But before then, you make sure you launch where your collar is going to stop. This is where the bias strip we cut, this is where it will stop. You can see this is how we sew it on it. But first thing, let's remove our pattern paper from the fabric. So now I will be sewing the strip to the shirt like this on 1/2 inches. I will sew this down, and I will be stopping this sewing on this launch I have at the front here. This is where I will stop the sewing. Now let me go and sew this for the 2 front of this shirt. As I'm done with the joining of the bias to the shirt, now I'll go to the sewing machine. I'll be joining the facing on 1/2 inches. I will stop at this end here. I will join all the way down on 1/2 inches, and give it a good press, and tell you what next to do. As I'm done with the sewing of the facing to the shirts, you can see how it is. This is the bias strip I'm talking about. You can see how neatly finished it is. Now I'll be joining the front and the back at the shoulder on 1/2 inches. I'll go to the sewing machine. I will join this on 1/2 inches, and I will join the other side also on 1/2 inches. So guys, I'm done with the joining of the shoulder of the shirts. Now I'll keep this aside. I'll be working on my collar. I sewed down my bias strip on the collar. You know, I use bider satin for this bias strip. When you don't have bias, you can make use of bider satin. And now we'll be sewing the collar together like this. I'll go and sew on 1/2 inches round like this. Now I'll sew it and show you guys what it looks like. So guys, I'm done with the sewing of the collar. The next I have to do now is to give this a good press, and I will tell you what next to do. But before doing that, let's work on the sleeve. This is my sleeve. I drop a link below on how to draft the basic sleeve, but this sleeve will be having a turn up. So now for the turn up, I cut out 2.5 inches for this turn up. You can see this 2.5 inches. Now because we are turning this to the front, I'll be sewing this on the back like this. So after sewing, we'll now turn it to the front. So guys, I'm done with the sewing of the sleeve. You can see I sew this at the back of the sleeve, then I turn it to the front. You can see how it is. This is the back. I will be putting the bider satin at the middle this way like this, and I will sew on top of it like this. It will be showing a bit like 0.25. You can see the way it is. This is how I will go to the sewing machine, and I will sew this all the way down. I'll do this for the two sleeves. Guys, I'm done fixing the bider satin to the sleeve. You can see how it is. This is the front of the sleeve, and this is the back of the sleeve. So now the next we have to do is to join the sleeve to the pajama set. So this is my shirt here. So now I'll bring in my sleeve. But first thing, you have to make sure you give a small launch to the center of your sleeve. So the joining at the shoulder with this launch I have here will be facing each other like this. So I'll go to the sewing machine, and I'll be joining this on 1/2 inches to the end of this armhole like this. And I will do the same thing on the other side. Some of the fixing of the sleeve to the shirt, you can see how it is. Now the next we have to do is to join the sides together. So now I'll go to the machine, and I'll be joining the sides on 1 inches, because this is on this shirt we added 1 inches for seam allowance. So now I'll go and sew this on 1 inches. I'm done with the joining of the side of the shirt. The next we have to do now is to fold the hem of this shirt on 1 inches. I'll be folding half this way, and I'll fold it again like this. So now I'll go and fold it and show you what it looks like. So guys, I'm done with the hemming of the shirt. You can see how it is. This is the back of the shirt, and this is the front of the shirt. To work on your collar, you fold the shirt like this into two, so you get the center back. So this is my center back. You can see I've given this a launch. This is how you will fold it, so you get the center back of your shirt and give it a launch like this. After doing that, the next you have to do is to bring your collar also and fold it into two like this, and give it a launch also at the center of the collar. So now the next we have to do is to bring the center of the collar and the center of the center back of the shirt, and we'll put them together like this. See, the two launch are together. Now I'll use my office pin to pin this down. After pinning this down, now I'll go and sew this. The way I'll be sewing, I will just be sewing the lining of the collar with the shirt together, and I will stop at this joining of the shoulder. I will sew from this this center back we have here to this joining of the shoulder, and I will do the same thing on this other side also. Then I will tell you what next to do. I'm done with the sewing of the collar to the shirt. You can see how it is. I sew only the lining to the shirt first. Now I'll be using the main collar to cover it, but before then we have to give this a bit of launch so we can use it to fold it inside. You launch it like this, you launch this place also like this. I'll go to the sewing machine. I'll be folding in this on 1/2 inches like this, and I will sew all the way to this joining we have here at the shoulder like this. I'm done with the fixing of the collar. You can see how neatly finished it is. Now we'll be finishing this other end of the collar. To do that, you make the collar in between the facing and the shirt like this. It will be in between. You bring it like this and arrange it properly, so you'll be sewing the 3 together. It's not like you just sew 2. So this is how you arrange. The collar will be in between. This is the shirt and this is the facing of the lapel. Let's call it lapel. So now I'll go to the sewing machine. I'll be sewing this on 1/2 inches to this hand there. So guys, I'm done with the sewing of the collar. You can see how it looks. I'll tag down my button and sew my buttonhole. Then I'll display this on my dress form for you to see. I'm done with the fixing of the button. You can see how beautiful it looks. Please don't forget to follow us on TikTok and on Instagram. Thank you guys for watching to the end. See you on my next one. God bless you.